before pandemic pa naman, we always support IIEE. Not limited only dito sa Laguna chapter, CLC, NLC, SLC, even nationwide. Actually, we support Palawan, Cebu, Batangas, and sa North area. So, thank you kay Sir Anthony for top up para maka-join dito sa webinar na ito.
Sure po. No problem.
Okay. So for today's webinar, we untitled natin is Hybrid Power System Enables Energy Independence. But before we start, meron lang tayong simple house rules for everyone. So number one is please keep your microphone muted when not asking you to unmute. Second is question may be asked throughout the webinar. We'll try to answer at the end of the presentation. But you can leave your question at the chat box and we will answer it accordingly ng ating technical kapag may question kayo during the presentation. Okay. Okay naman yung sounds ko, sir? Or medyo mahina talaga?
I think that's okay now.
Okay, sir. Thank you. So ito yung overview ng ating webinar, no? Alam ko naman na hindi ito yung first time na maka-encounter tayo ng webinar regarding solar power system. Pero sige, pasadahan na lang natin ng mabilis lang para ma-refresh lang din para dun sa mga bago. So pag-usapan natin saglit yung solar power system and its three main types, system or setups. And then, pero magpo-focus tayo more on the solar hybrid and how solar hybrid works. And later on, introduce ko na rin yung bagong product ni Nupon Technology, which is yung aming solar aircon. Then we can proceed for the question and answer portion. Okay po. So, solar power system. Lahat naman ng solar power system, iisa lang naman yung basic principle. So, solar panels, convert solar energy into DC power using the photovoltaic effect ng ating solar panels. And then it will be converted into AC by the solar inverter para magamit natin dun sa ating mga home appliances. So basically, ganun lang naman tumatakbo yung solar power system. Pero meron naman tayong depending on the type of the system, pwede naman tayong meron yung ibinibenta yung mga excess solar energy na na-harvest natin, and then pwede rin natin siyang i-keep sa battery. So doon na pumapasok yung three main types natin ng setup. So we have the off-grid, on-grid, and the hybrid. So to simplify lang, off-grid, ibig sabihin, refresh ko lang, off-grid, ibig sabihin, hindi na natin kailangan si Meralco. Meron na tayong sariling electricity source, which is yung ating solar panels. While on-grid, or also known as grid tie or grid-feed solar system, it is connected to a grid or connected tayo kay Meralco, and at the same time, meron ka ring solar panel. But the main disadvantage of on-grid setup is once na mag-blackout si Meralco, yung ating source of electricity, kahit patirik na tirik yung araw, hindi gagana yung system setup mo. So dito na pumapasok kung bakit mas i-highlight natin ngayon si hybrid or define natin siya is it refers to a system which uses a combination of solar and batteries that can interact with the electricity and grid. So meron tayong three input sources na pinanggagalingan ng electricity. Number one is meron tayong solar panels, meron tayong yung grid or which is yung si Meralco pagdating dito sa NCR or sa Laguna. And then we have the battery. So this is how it is worked yan. So this time, assume natin na nakapag-apply tayo ng net metering. So ibig sabihin, we can import or export na ng mga sobrang kuryente na na-harvest natin. Assume lang natin na ganun na. So magbigay na lang tayo ngayon ng different scenario kung paano ba nag-work ang isang hybrid solar power system. So this is the scenario number one. Isinimplify na lang din namin. Ang purpose din naman kasi is to refresh everyone and para din doon sa mga bago to have idea in a simple way. So scenario 1, pinaka simple. So, for example, yung solar panel natin is 1,000 watts. And then meron tayong home appliances na naglo-load din ng 1,000 watts. Present yung ating grid, yung ating Meralco, and yung battery natin is fully charged. So, ang magsusupply ngayon ng electricity sa ating 1,000 watts na home appliances is magagaling kay solar panel. As simple as that. Scenario number 2. Okay, so scenario number 1, no, import is tawag dito. Hindi present doon sa scenario natin. Okay, scenario number 2. Daytime, same pa rin, meron tayong 1,000 watts na solar panel. But this time, ano kasi, summer, kunyari, summer ngayon, nagdagdag ka ng aircon. So, nadagdagan ng 500 watts yung load ng home appliances mo. So, naging 1,500 na yung load mo. Pero ang solar panel mo is 100 watts. So, ano ang mangyayari? So, the 1,000 watts is manggagaling kay solar panel. And then, dito na tayo mag-i-import ng electricity from our grid or Meralco ng 500 watts para masupply natin yung 1,500 watts na kailangan natin dito. Okay? Ganun lang. 1,000 sa solar panel, 500 kay grid, total of 1,500. Okay. Scenario number 3. Daytime pa rin. 1,000 watts pa rin yung ating solar panel. Pero this time, December ang ano natin, ang month. So taglamig. So nag-decide ka na hindi muna mag-aircon. Patay natin yung aircon. So anong nangyari? From 1,000 watts na load ng appliances mo, bumabato ng 500 watts. So meaning, sobra. Sobra yung ipapasok na kuryente from the solar panel. So ang mangyayari, 500 watts ang isusupply natin dun sa load mo, and the excess of 500 watts is i-export na natin kay Meralco. So dito na papasok yung net metering, magkakaroon ka ng, ano tawag doon sa Ron? Refund, rebate? Mga ganon. So 500 watts dun sa load, then 500 watts export kay Meralco. Okay. Scenario number 4. Daytime. Pero ang problema na ngayon, may paparating na bagyo. Cloudy. Cloudy tayo ngayon. Ang load na kailangan mo is 1,000 watts. Pero dahil cloudy yung panahon, hindi niya kayang isupply yung buong 1,000 watts. Sabihin na natin 50% lang yung kayang i-harvest ng ating solar panel. Nagkataon pa dahil masama ang panahon, walang power, wala tayong Meralco. So, hindi present ang import at export from our grid. So, anong mangyayari? The 500 watts is manggagaling doon sa solar panel natin. Since cloudy siya, hindi niya mapoprovide yung 1,000 na kailangan. Dito na papasok si battery. Siya ang magpo-provide ng 500 watts na kulang doon sa ating solar panel. Ito ay nakadepende na lang sa setup ng inverter ninyo and din sa capacity ng battery ninyo. Okay? Scenario number 5. Umaraw na. Hindi na maulap, pero still wala pa rin tayong kuryente. Wala pa ring power, hindi pa tayo makapag-export, import ng kuryente. And ang ating load na kailangan is 500 watts lang. Pero kaya na natin supplyan to ng 1,000 dahil maaraw na. Anong mangyayari? 500 watts isusupply natin doon sa doon sa load ng appliances natin na kailangan mo, and then the 500 is i-imbak natin doon sa battery. Okay. Scenario number 6. Ganun pa rin. 1,000 watts yung ating solar panel. 1,000 watts yung kailangan nating load. Tapos, 500 watts na lang yung ating battery level. 50% na lang. So, anong mangyayari? yung 1,000 watts na ma-harvest natin, susupply natin dun sa ating load. And then, depende sa setup ng inyong inverter, pwede tayong kumuha ng 50% or 500 watts para ma-charge natin si battery. Okay. Scenario number 7. Ito ay wait lang. Daytime pa rin. Pero at this time wala, umalis ka ng bahay. So walang gaganang electricity. So ibig sabihin ang load natin ay 0 watts. So ano mangyayari sa lahat ng mga harvest natin? Lahat po iyon ay i-export natin kay Meralco. As simple as that. So what if paggabi naman, nighttime tayo. Ang load ng yung appliances is 1,000 watts. And solar panel mo, of course, 0 na to since wala na tayong na-harvest na sunlight. So technically, manggagaling yung ating source of electricity kay Meralco. So 0 tayo sa solar. And yung battery natin is backup lang once na si Meralco ay magkaroon ng blackout. Okay? Scenario number 9. Nighttime pa rin. So obviously 0 pa rin yung ating solar panel. And then 1,000 pa rin yung load na kailangan mo. And then yung battery mo is low bat na. So nandun na rin yon kung ano ang setup na gagawin mo sa inverter mo, kung uunahin ba muna mag-charge si battery or direct na siyang magsusupply doon sa house mo, doon sa house loads mo. Then last, nighttime pa rin, 0 tayo sa solar, 1,000 watts yung load na kailangan mo, and then wala tayong grid, wala si Meralco, so hindi tayo makapag-import ng kuryente. So kukunin natin yung source of electricity natin ay si battery. So depende na lang din kung gaano kalaki yung battery capacity mo. Depende kung ilang oras yung kaya niyang itagal. Yun yung sinasabi natin kagandahan ng hybrid kasi hindi lang isa, dalawa yung pwedeng mong maging source of electricity, which is 3. Yung ating solar panel, yung ating battery, and of course, yung ating grid or si Meralco. Ayan. Diniscuss ko lang sir, itong ating hybrid kasi yung aming newly launched na product is yung aming solar aircon. This is a AC/DC full solar power system. Actually, na-launch lang to last week of July. And this is the first time na i-discuss namin siya through a webinar. So I will give the floor to Sir Stewart Gibson to discuss our solar aircon. Then later on, we can have the question and answer portion. Sir Stewart.
How are you guys?
Yeah, we're good.
Sharing the screen. Okay now.
Si Sir Stewart Gibson po is
Very good.
our principal technical.
Okay guys, are you ready to share screen?
Yes, I'm saying.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Not allowing me to share screen while other participant is sharing? Oh, okay. Okay guys, this is the new full DC solar air conditioning system. Now this aircon can run.
Hello, Stewart. I think.
Hello.
Hello. Yes, Stewart. It will be better if you're going to play the presentation. We're saying the whole document. In presentation mode, I think that's better.
Presentation mode? How do I do that? Slideshow. This is the one?
Yeah, that's okay now.
Okay now. So when you look at it, there's many different types of solar aircon. There is 48 volts. There is an AC/DC unit. And then there's the full DC unit. Now our unit is full DC. So what advantage is full DC versus an AC/DC unit? Full DC can run, no battery, no grid. Can run just on the solar. So in a brownout, I can run this aircon at 0 usage from Mariano. I can actually plug it off during the day and run the aircon with no power source coming from Mariano. Now, this is the basics of the aircon. Now, in this aircon, the difference between this aircon and everybody else is, one, the unit is full DC, and two, we have a solar controller or our own mini inverter inside the unit, optimizing the solar every time of the day. Now, any of you guys want to get a copy of this presentation, we can forward it to you. Just Raymart.
Yes, please.
Okay, so just send him one and we'll email it to you, a request. Now, if you look at go back into the beginning of it, I've been working on solar air conditioning for about 10 years. I am the one who does the solar for Nippon. And I've also been working on this with a lot of the companies in China to make this system the best that it can actually be. This is probably generation 5 out of all the aircons. So how does it work? Obviously, low consumption, high energy saving in efficiency. It's full DC, so the compressor, the motors, the controllers, everything, the inside the unit can run on the DC alone. Working voltage is around 362 volts. There's a booster MPPT controller integrated together with the solar aircon, so it's very, very plug and play. This is basically the system. So basically, the advantage of this system is obviously not a lot of solar panels are needed, and the power is optimized by the system. So how does hybrid work? Hybrid can work on solar and it can work on the grid. Does it include batteries? It is battery ready, but it doesn't include batteries because realistically, I don't see the need if you're absolutely killing it during the day. What happens if it's cloudy or raining? If it's cloudy or raining, it will go back to its normal source, which is Mariano.
Recording in progress.
So when you look at it, the difference between inverter air conditioning and the hybrid full DC solar aircon. Realistically, the full DC can use, realistically, 50% of what a normal inverter aircon can run. Because the normal inverter aircon, the only DC component is the compressor. So now the advantage of this, if you look at it, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, ROI on the solar aircon is 14 to 18 months. ROI connected to Mariano is 16 years and up. This is some of the installations I've done. This one here, I actually personally put the panels on. This one, Globe Telecom. So with this one, sizes of the air cons. To know what size room fits. Now, we are the only company in the Philippines that can offer full DC solar industrial air cons up to 4TR units. We can do cassette type. We can do the roof mount or the floor mount, they call it. We can do ducted. And we can do cabinet type. So when you look at the difference between them, obviously the advantage we have is no other solar aircon company I've heard of can do the large 4TR systems. So when you look at it, the advantage of solar versus solar aircon, what is the main problem in your house? This is the thing that drove me to looking at doing these systems. What is the biggest problem in a school, in an office, is air conditioning. The biggest cost is air conditioning. In call centers, restaurants, factories, malls. Air conditioning is the biggest problem. So, can we do the big malls? Not at the moment. We can't do huge systems. We are restricted to 4TR units. Okay, guys, any questions?
For those who have questions, you can temporarily unmute yourself. Anyone so far? Any question? Anybody from the group? Anyway, if you have question at the end of the presentation, we still have a question and answer. So for now, I think, Stewart, if you can still proceed, and no one want to ask a question for now.
Okay, so anybody wants to see these units working. We have 3 units installed in our Newpon office. We are obviously going to be putting in a lot more aircons in Newpon. Our goal in Newpon is to be 100% solar aircon free running by the end of this year. So imagine an office that costs nothing to run the aircon. This is what we can do. So Mark, the biggest capacity at the moment we can do is 4TR. So when you look at these aircons, okay, so look at numbers of panels. 1.5 is 3 panels. I'm actually using the 440 watt panels and I'm using the 330 watt panels. Obviously, if you do the 440 watt panels, obviously they're more expensive. But the more panel, the more power you can pull from the panel, the stronger it is. So the recommendation will be on a 1.5, 3 panels, 440 watts. On a 2 horsepower, is 4 panels, 440 watts. On a 3 horsepower, 6 panels, 440 watts on a 4-ton unit, 12 panels. Customers we're all doing. I've got a big resort I'm actually doing in Laguna. I'm about to start doing a large hotel in Cebu. And I've got in Bulacan 4 units installed already. We have 3 units installed in the New Pond office. So if anybody wants to see it, they can. They can come and show it and see it and bring a client there. Just inform me before. Any more questions?
Anyone so far? Any question? Anybody? Maybe I can ask you a question. Question is, why is it to be particular air conditioning? Why not other load?
Okay, the reason I actually prefer the aircon is the biggest consumption in a house, in an office, in a school is the aircon. And I kept going when I was doing solar in the beginning. Was I'd go to a school, they're wanting solar to run their air cons. I'm going to an office, they want the solar for running their air cons. So why would you not just run the aircon? And the solar has to power very little. So the system you have, very conti. The aircon doesn't need a lot of panels. So if you want to run it 100%, run a small off-grid system or on-grid system or hybrid system, and then you can do it with solar aircon because the panels are not a lot.
My second question would be, is the air conditioning a specific brand from you, or it's a third-party brand?
It's specifically made and designed by me.
Okay.
The difference between our aircon and a normal aircon is one, full DC. So every component inside the aircon is DC. Quality, we are using a large company in China to manufacture our aircons. In that unit, we are actually installing the solar controller. So the solar controller runs everything. It adjusts itself every moment of the day to the solar capabilities.
And how about the voltage regulation? Meaning, if you have an air conditioning in normal, in AC, you require a stable voltage, right?
Yes, yes.
But for DC, are you saying that, I'm not sure whether it's a battery is mandatory, or is your aircon will work without a battery? Is it possible?
Yes, it is very, very possible. I've actually got videos of the aircon running without batteries, without grid, unplugged from the wall with no battery.
So I think that's, so far that's my question. So I'm going to ask
In my home.
Hello, Press March.
actually,
I think there are questions in the chat box. I have read, Sir Stuart, what are the largest capacity for a solar aircon?
is 4TR.
Okay.
Yeah, I think, Jeff, we're
Yes.
going to read the questions later on, but let our
Yes, okay.
on the last part, we're going to read these questions posted in the chat box. But for now, let's see. Because I think Stuart's not yet done with his presentation.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
When you look at it, we're nearly at the end of the presentation. The next one is your battery lithium ion? What does the efficiency rate? at the moment, we suggest, instead of using a battery with the aircon, we suggest that we run a separate, small off-grid system. So we can go through that at the end. And does it connect to the utility source? Yes, it does, because it's a hybrid system, and it also connects to the solar. Now, to look at my qualifications, I actually hold 3 degrees. I'm an electrical engineer, mechanical engineer, and computer engineer. So what we do, Romna? Hello?
Yes, Stewart.
Can you copy down the ones that we're going to send, the emails of the brochure?
Any question po from the group?
Raymart, siguro tapusin muna natin yung presentation. Later on, we can move on to the Q&A part.
Okay, sir, sure. Sir Stewart, you can proceed po for your presentation.
Okay, when you look at this aircon, the people that I've already approached and are already very interested in me doing testing with is Shakey's. I've got a unit in Laguna. I've got a large company looking at it in Eastwood. And soon, we hope some of you guys are going to have a look at it. So I'm done with my presentation, Roma.
Okay, sir Stewart, thank you. But if meron pa po kayong questions,
Yep.
you can proceed po to ask Sir Stewart.
How about, sir, the warranty?
It's 2 years on the unit, 5 years on the compressor, and the solar panel has the standard solar panel warranty, which is 10 years. At the moment, we'll be using JA solar panels, the half cells.
How about the cost of its?
The cost, obviously, talk to Nupon about that because I'm actually the engineer and I just do technical.
With regards, sir, with the price and costing, through email na lang siguro yung inquiry natin, sir, kasi meron kasi kaming binibigay na reseller price different from the end user. So, para lang hindi medyo malito, per inquiry na lang kami nagbibigay ng pricing. So later on po, ipopost ko yung aming email address and contact numbers in case na magre-request kayo ng quotation for our solar aircon.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir, for the info.
Okay, how many people are in Cebu online? Okay,
We have 304 participants, Sir Stewart.
okay, thank you, thank you. Yep.
Doon po sa nag-ask sa mga branches, we have, our main office po is located here at Santa Rosa, Laguna. But we have also in Cavite, Subic, Cebu, Baguio.
Yeah, thank you, Raymart. By the way, short interruption. For those who are asking for copies, we're going to send you the copy. Pakipirmahan lang yung ating attendance sheet. And once we receive the copy, isasend namin yung presentation material including your e-certificate. Jeff, pakipost ulit yung ating attendance sheet. So don't forget your attendance, pakifill out yung attendance sheet.
Yes, Pre.
Back to you, Raymart.
Okay po. Sir Stewart, can you close your presentation? I will be sharing my presentation again. Sir Stewart. For updates po and tawag dito, for your inquiries po, you can visit our FB page, Nutec Solar Aircon. Ayan po, naka-post po dito for the updates. And then, aside from solar aircon po, no? Doon po sa hindi nakakakilala kay Nupon Technology Philippines Corporation, we are a supplier din po ng mga LED commercial lightings, mga industrial lightings, even mga solar street lights. Meron din kami mga construction, mga PPEs. And also, uninterruptible power supply, mga UPS, and mga PPE and medical equipment for COVID-19. So in case meron kayong requirement, don't hesitate to contact us po with this contact number. And you may also visit our page din po. Ang aming main website is nuponcorfields.com, and then we have mga tawag dito sa Nutec LED, yung aming LED lightings, then Nupon Solar for solar-related products, and then Nupon UPS for our uninterruptible power supply. You can contact Ms. Rain Delgado, our Corporate Business Development Head, in case meron kayong inquiry, or pwede rin naman po sa akin. Posted na lang din po ay aking contact details dito and email. Then I will send na lang din kay Sir Anthony yung slides for solar aircon para sa reference po ninyo. That would be all po, Sir March.
Okay, so quick Q&A na tayo. Are you ready to receive questions?
Okay po. Tawagin ko lang si Sir Stewart.
How about
Yes, sir.
isa nating
Si Sir.
Is that the conclusion of your presentation, Raymart?
Yes, sir.
Okay, sige. Jeff, naman yung ating mga Q&A, mga questions. So then for a while, ay download lang ni Jeff yung mga questions.
Raymart, today na po. Napaplood po kasi tayo dun sa sa chat box eh. Sa dela ba? Pabalik ko.
Saglit lang. Okay. So, pwede na yung mga may questions paki-post na. And well, I'll try to download your questions. Isa-isahin ko lang ha. Hold on for a while. And si Raymart, be ready sa mga questions. Ako na lang muna magtatanong.
Sure po. Sige po.
And then ikaw, Jeff, paki-download yung question habang dina-download yung question. Ako muna.
Sige po. Medyo napaplood kasi tayo nung emails eh.
Yeah. Okay. The question is, what is the working voltage ng DC? You mentioned it's a DC system. So you mentioned it's a DC coupled PV battery and an equipment. Ano yung voltage?
Sorry, sir. Sorry.
Wala si Mr. Stewart.
Ang sasagot si Raymart.
Hello.
Ayan na, sir. Ayan.
Yeah, Stewart, my question is, what is the bus voltage?
The working voltage, it will work on the, what did you mean?
The working voltage. Since you mentioned you have PV, battery, and equipment, the utilization equipment, so that is a DC coupled.
It will work. The advantage of this unit is obviously you can put any amount of solar panels onto it, as long as they're the standard solar panels. That's why I'm saying on a 1.5, 3. The 2 horsepower can be 4, can be 5. On 3 horsepower is 6.
My question is, typically in a grid tied system, input to the inverter is, it could be in a DC system, it's 1,000.
Input to it is a 324 volt DC inverter.
384. So you mean you have to see?
We actually, in the actual unit, we use the GMCC compressor.
Okay, so 380, that's the nominal DC voltage, right?
Yes. Because the actual inverter inside the AC unit will convert the power over. So if you've got 3 panels, no problems. In the earlier air cons I was running, I had to come up with that 324 volts. So 2 times 162, these were the differences. So this one will work on any voltage. It adapts.
Okay.
Okay now?
We can ask Jeff if he's able to download the questions.
Yep.
Yes, po. Actually, there are a number of questions here. Sir Stewart, I'll just address this to you one by one. First question in my list is, what is the kilowatt ratio to the room area?
Okay, so if you look at the area, the reason is we are the same as a standard aircon. So if you're looking at 1.5, bang, I can give you the numbers. Just wait a second, I'll go through. Hang on, I'll just bring it up. So if you're looking at it, to go back through, it is very, very standard to the normal aircon. So say we're looking at a 1.5. A 1.5 will do 19 to 25 square meter room. 2 horsepower is 26 to 30 to 35. 3 horsepower is around the 46 to 50. And then we go 4 ton, which is 71 to 90. And then, do we need a separate branch unit? No, the unit will do all the conversions by itself.
Jeff, second question, please.
Second question, Sir Stewart. Is the
Yes.
solar ACU still connected to the utility source or
Yes.
just dependent on solar power?
Yes, it's a full hybrid, so hybrid has 2 sources of power.
Okay, so it's still okay.
Because if the solar is not enough, like in the evening, it will automatically switch between the solar and the AC grid.
Okay. Next question, Sir Stewart. How about the maintenance? Is it as the normal? Is it the same as the normal aircon? How
Yes, it's
about
the
in
same.
rainy days? Sorry, sir. I'd like to finish the question. How about in rainy days or cloudy days? Can it still
Okay,
perform full capacity?
Same as normal solar. If there's no solar, there's no power coming from the sun. So
Okay.
if it's raining, or like today, where it's raining, obviously the power input from the solar will be low.
Okay. Okay. Next question, sir. How many years of warranty is the equipment?
2 years on the unit, 5 years on the compressor, and 10 years on the panels.
Okay. And then the next question will be, I think you have already answered this, but it's like they're asking how much is for 1 horsepower or quarter horsepower.
Yep, we only do 1.5, 2, and 3 in the split types. So we do not go below like a 1 horsepower, because realistically, the cost between a 1 horsepower and a 1.5 is less than $25.
Okay. Sir, there's another question, sir. What's the difference between just buying an inverter DC to AC rather buying a full DC aircon?
Okay, full DC is completely optimized for solar. If you buy a normal aircon, this is, even if it's running on the grid, is about 50% of a normal inverter aircon. Like a premium inverter.
Okay. Next question, sir. How do you manage after sales services?
Okay, we are setting up dealers, and we will be supplying parts to the dealers and working through that. On the initial 2 years, obviously we cover the cost of the parts and everything, and we have the dealer, because the dealer is the one making most of the money. We have set it up in Nupon. If we've got dealers, then the dealer will make the lion's share of the profit, because obviously they can make on the installation. We can do training. We can show you how to do it. Very, very simple. And we will have a service center at Nupon as well.
Okay. This question, he's asking, do solar aircon really saves anything? So I think he's asking for the return of investment. How long is the ROI?
Okay, the return of investment on the solar aircon is less than 2 years.
Okay.
In
Less than
Cebu, I'm doing a hotel, and in Boracay, I did a 30-room hotel with solar aircons. Now, this was Gen 2, so not as good a savings as this one. This unit can run, no battery, no grid. So in other words, during the day, this aircon can run completely autonomous from the grid. You can unplug it from the power. I actually have the video of it running. No battery, no grid. Imagine having a school where you're not paying for the air conditioning systems. An office like Newpon, like any office where you are not paying for that power. Imagine being able to turn your aircon on at home and not worry about the bill. This is the difference. This is the complete difference of this aircon. Can run 100%, no battery, no grid. Imagine shakies, enjoying the power all day long, enjoying the aircon all day long, not paying for it.
Okay. Okay.
The return of investment on the aircon is very, very fast. The reason is during the day, no cost. During the evening, half the cost of a normal inverter.
Okay. Sir, in line with that question, with that statement, sir, someone is asking, what happened to the excess power from solar supplying your solar ACU during the daytime? What happened to the excess power?
If it's got excess power, it's nothing. Realistically, the AC is the only one. It's an appliance. The savings are only at the aircon. No feedback to the grid, no reverse to the energy source. It is just powering the aircon. You're not paying for that aircon.
Okay, so there's no reverse power, or there's no profit, no savings.
There's no savings apart from, it's like, imagine turning on the light, but not flicking the switch. So
Yes,
no
I
cost.
understand. Okay. Next question, sir. Is the AC DC aircon available for 220 to 240 volts single phase?
Yes. All of the aircons we have are 220 to 240 volt single phase.
Okay, for those people, or doon sa mga gusto mong tanong po, pwede po kayong mag-unmute po ng inyong mga mic po para po matanong po si Sir Stuart. You can unmute your mic first so that you may address your question.
Jeff, I have some question here. I think.
Okay. Yeah,
This is from Eric Bautista. How many MPPT does your inverter have?
The inverter that we use is not like a solar inverter. This is just the power of the aircon. So it's completely different than a normal solar inverter.
Okay, clear on that.
It has one set of solar leads running in. So one set of panels, because it only has 3 panels. Very simple setup.
Okay, my follow-up question is a certain, the typical grid inverter, it requires to conform with certain standard, right?
Yes.
Yeah, how UL certification and IC standard. How about this kind of inverter? Does it follow a certain standard?
This does not need to follow any standard, because obviously it's an appliance, it's an aircon. It's not connected in any way to the grid. The solar is completely different than the grid.
Okay. Question from Joseph. If your solar power hybrid is not enough to supply, the DU will be secondary supply.
The AU will be the Morocco, or this power supply will be the secondary supply.
Okay. Question from Dance. Is your battery lithium ion? What is the efficiency rate?
At the moment, we do not do it with batteries. We do not offer a battery system with it, because realistically, I believe a battery system with the aircon is not a good investment because it's always going to rob the panels. We will do, once that is requested, we will do like a small off-grid or hybrid system to run the system.
Question.
But I found the cost prohibitive.
Okay, noted on that. Question from
Really-
Jan
realistically,
Celestino.
to put it
Mariano.
into hybrid system, to put it into battery systems, the challenge with battery systems and air conditioning is when you're running the aircon, obviously the battery system will try and steal as much power as it can from the panels and will choke the aircon. So I really prefer two different systems.
Okay. Question from Jan Celestino Camana. Is the maintenance for AC/DC aircon is the same as normal aircon?
Yes.
Another question from Carl S. Pelagio. How about maintenance? Is it as a normal aircon? How about that in rainy days or cloudy? Can it still perform a full capacity?
Obviously, if there's no solar, there's no savings.
Okay.
But
Question.
in the unit itself, it is about 50% of a normal inverter aircon.
Okay. Question from Rusty Alegre. Is the solar ACU still connected to the utility source or just
Yes.
dependent to solar power?
It is a full hybrid, so it uses grid and solar.
Okay. Question from Jose Roger Rebulido. What is the kilowatt ratio to the room area?
Okay, this one is very, very different. When you're looking at a aircon, if you're running that aircon at 16 degrees, obviously the consumption of the aircon will be full solar from the solar, and it will try and steal from the grid because it's realistically a lot. When you're running it at normal 21 to 25, then the power consumption is much different. So it depends on realistically what you've set your aircon to. A lot of people, when they come into the hotel, they set their aircon at 16 degrees. Okay, that's fine. But the aircon will never stop cycling. If your aircon is a 1.5 in a room that's really a 2 horsepower aircon, I've got a friend who owns resorts in Laguna. We went there, we looked at these aircons, fantastic. But because he's got his aircon in too big a room and it's incorrectly set, the consumption of the aircon is double what it should be because the unit will never cycle. If you set the aircon at 16 degrees, obviously the aircon will work flat out trying to get the room to 16 degrees, which is realistically an impossibility. If you set it to 21, it'll cycle, it'll turn off and on. So much bigger savings. So it depends on the settings of the aircon. I've got all the technical manuals, the installation manuals, the warranty manuals for this aircon. So I can supply it to you guys.
Do you have any installation, commercial installation somewhere here in Santa Rosa area?
I've actually got installations in the New Pond office. We have 3 units set up there at the moment. And we're soon going to be putting some aircons in our Balea properties as well.
Santa Rosa, where particular is that?
In the
Sorry.
Filson site,
Okay, that's still the same.
the Techno Park.
We know that. Thank you. Jeff, meron ka pa bang pwedeng basahin dyan? You can start from the last one going up.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Ito na pa, press march. Teka lang ha. Is it nito? from Dave Viola. For hybrid setup, do we have a limit on battery capacity that we can attach?
No, there's really no limit because the actual power supply will actually adjust. If you want bigger savings or you're wanting to set the unit lower, obviously add more panels. But the standard system is 3, 4, and 6. That is the standard configuration for the panels. Now, if you want to up the panels, because you can now buy 550 watt panels, obviously the bigger power, the bigger panel, the bigger savings.
Okay.
But I've optimized the system and my calculations, it is quite comfortable to run, no battery, no grid, on 3, 4, and 6.
Okay.
Meralco actually has one of these units in their showroom, or not in the showroom, in their conference room, and Spectrum is a friend of mine.
Oh,
So,
okay.
so they've already seen and vetted this unit.
You're talking about their head office in Ortigas, sir?
Yes,
Okay.
Mr.
I know the place.
Mr. Rain Reyes, who used to be the head of Spectrum, is a good friend of mine, and I also have an agreement with Meralco.
Okay.
So I have wala problema with Meralco.
Okay. Continuing his second question. How long does the energy in our power storage last?
Realistically, at the moment, we're not doing power storage for the aircon. So as you use it is as it's produced.
Hello, Sir Stuart.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So another from Dave Viola. For hybrid system, is it possible to set up that during nighttime? We will get load from 50% of the battery capacity, and if still not enough, then only we get to Meralco.
No, the aircon, if there's no, the unit has no provision for batteries. So if you're going to run a battery system, we suggest a small hybrid system.
Okay.
Wait, a question from me.
Yes, sir.
They have a required, do you need a specific requirement for the PV? Any particular brand or rating?
Obviously, I've done this before, and a lot of people ask me, can I convert their aircon to a solar aircon?
Si Ferdy sa kasama natin, si LB calling pala.
Wait,
Pero pwede na tayo mag-start.
hold on. Guys, can you unmute yourself, please?
Question namin before, regarding to sa generator,
Hold on. I'm sorry, Stewart, can you say that again, please?
Okay, when you look at our aircons, a lot of people ask, can we convert their existing aircon to solar? The answer is no. Reason why? Obviously, every unit is completely different. If you look at all the photos that I have in my presentation, Globe Telecom, PLDT, a lot of the big companies I've already done. I've already knocked on their door. Now, advantage, very, very simple. If you can run the aircon, what is the main times of a normal office or school is from 9 to 5. So this is what the target I went to. Now, obviously, if you've got resorts and areas like that, then we can modify because we do UPSs, we do off-grid systems, we do hybrid systems. So there is a myriad of different options available. It's just matching the option to the right client.
Okay, thank you for that. Back to you, Jeff. Any more questions?
You are muted. Ay, hello. Sir Stewart, do you have a solar power computation requirement for your solar ACU that you will install? Let's
Yes,
say, for
yes, I have.
example, how many solar power for the solar 1 horsepower ACU or solar 1.5 ACU and so on?
Yes, yes, I actually have that. I can actually send that to you because the standard
that's good.
system that we work from, even though you can change it, you can adjust it, you can go up. I really don't suggest you go down. If you're going 330 watts, it still will work. The reason
Okay.
I like the 440 watt panels and it's 3, 4, and 6 is these are the numbers I use to get stable power for the aircon. The unit will work with anything you plug into it. If you put 5 panels, you put 6 panels, you put 10 panels. But if you put 10 panels, realistically, you're wasting the power.
Okay. Okay.
Because you get to a threshold where it's too much. The units will work up to 300 watts.
Mhm.
And you can have 240 volts of, oh no, 340 volts of power going into the inverter. No problems, but realistically, you don't need it. That's why I've kept it free. In my home, I have 5 panels on my 2 horsepower. Why? I just like it. I think it's better, but you only need to have 4.
Okay. So the minimum is 4.
4. Minimum is 4.
Okay. Sir Stewart, from Joel Elige, if the solar power or DC power is not available, the working voltage of the unit will be back to AC voltage or still remain DC due to the hybrid system?
The unit will run on DC, but it will work on the 240 volt system or 220 volt. There is a inverter inside the unit which will convert the power.
Okay. From John Celestino Canama, is the AC-DC aircon manually or automatically switched to solar grid source?
Yes, it'll automatically switch. You don't have to do anything.
Okay, so automatically. Okay.
Automatically works.
Okay. And then from Rex Pehi Peñas, he's asking what's the exact address of New Tech in Cavite?
Okay.
And he is interested in the hybrid system and planning to incorporate this to the design of his clients. He's a professional electrical engineer.
Yep, no problems. Okay, I can forward you the address.
Okay. Press March, I think that's all I can find in the chat box, sir.
No problems, no problems. Anybody wants me to send them the details, just send us a link or send us your email. And is this the emails in the chat box of the people who want us to send soft copies to?
We'll be giving you, sir, Press March.
Stewart, we're going to send you all the senders here, those who give their email address.
Yep,
We'll
yep.
share you a copy.
Okay, then. Okay.
Press March, I think that's all I can find in the chat box.
Okay.
No problems, no problems.
Okay.
So Raymart, if you could save all the people and we'll just send the presentation.
Sorry, sir.
If you can just save the emails and we'll just send the presentation to all these people.
Yes, sir. Sure.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Guys, any more question before we conclude?
Yeah, good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, sir.
Okay. Go, Jaime Ventanilla.
Yes, sir. I just want to clarify. Maybe I overheard or I did not hear that. The AC unit is a DC unit, DC voltage?
Is full DC, yes.
DC. So it is solar
Yep,
directly.
completely can run during the day. No battery, no grid.
So meaning if it is DC, there is no frequency at all.
Yep,
Yes,
doesn't need
okay.
it. And because it's high voltage,
Okay.
it doesn't
So-
matter how long the wire is from the solar panels.
Okay. How much is the voltage of your DC in the unit?
328 volts, 324 volts.
320. Okay. So what is the output voltage of the PV system?
Normally the panels are about 37 volts per panel. So, but the advantage is the inverter inside the unit will boost the output voltage up to maximize the unit. So obviously, if you've got just 3 panels, it's not big voltage. This will bring that voltage up.
So I understand that the AC unit is the voltage source will come from the battery itself, not from the directly from the PV. Am I correct?
No. We don't run batteries. Walang batteries. Walang completely no battery. Just
Okay.
from solar and Aircode.
So if the DC is input voltage is 325, if
Yep.
I'm not mistaken, 325. So the PV voltage is variable. If I
The variable. You
it's
can adjust.
variable. Okay. Do you have there a DC-DC converter in that unit?
Yes.
Okay. Because I did not heard, or maybe I did not hear that if there is a DC-DC converter. So
Yes.
if the input voltage is a variable from the PV, so how the DC-DC converter from the input play with the variable voltage,
It is always adjusting itself
adjusting.
to the voltage.
Mhm.
This was my challenge 3 years ago, was how to do this. Now, we were doing this by the panels. Originally, we had specifically panels made, which was the high voltage panels, which is on my roof of my house in Bulacan.
Mhm.
Now, that was series 2. Series 3, series 4, and then series 5, which is this unit, we started to move away from specific panels to everyday panels, because 1, the cost is much cheaper. 2, you can buy it in local market and you can buy it in China very, very cheap. So the reason I did that was, 1, if I could use standard panels, that was the cost-effective way of doing it. Realistically, in my warehouse, I have a lot of high voltage panels, which I'll probably never use again. These 320 watt, 20 volt panels. Now, if you want, I have 4 panels in my bodega. I'll take a photo just to show you how many volts these ones are. But always, if you're looking at it, 1.5, 2, 162 volt panels. If you work out 4 panels, much less, 81 volts. So it always comes up to the same. If you understand what I mean.
Yeah, I understand you. What about this? We have a direct from solar for the photovoltaic, and then we have the battery. Okay,
No,
the battery
No,
voltage
no
is
battery.
constant. The battery voltage is constant until it run out of energy.
No. This system, the new system, we do not need batteries. Batteries not included. Can run on the grid and the solar. Walang batteries.
Okay, so somebody asked you about the maintenance point of view of
Yes,
this.
yes.
Okay, so is it annually?
Yes, yes. Normally I
annually.
service, like you service your normal aircon, it's every 3 months.
So you mentioned about the ROI, the return of investment. Do you include the return of investment with regards to the annual maintenance in
Yes,
the
yes, that's
computation?
including the maintenance cost, because if you've got a normal aircon, it is exactly the same as if you're running this aircon.
But the depreciation as we go along with the time is
Same,
more higher.
same. The only difference between that and R1 is the cleaning of the panels.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Stewart.
Thank you.
Okay, what nationality are you from?
I'm from Australia, but I've lived in the Philippines
Australia.
for close. Australian,
Australia.
but born in the UK.
Okay, thank you. Good
Thank
afternoon.
you.
Okay, thank you, Jimmy, for the questions. Any more questions?
Press March, I can see someone asking if it does not have the battery, is it applicable to use battery, Sir Stewart?
We normally don't recommend battery because in solar aircon, this was always my challenge with my partners in China. They always wanted me to have a battery. And realistically, if you use a battery with a solar aircon during the day, it is stealing power, which is required to run the unit. So thus you need more panels. So the cost is exponential. So that's why I really, in this initial unit, I don't want to do batteries.
Okay, thank you, Sir Stewart.
And in my home, I am running my aircon, and I run it probably 7 hours a day, and mine's been running for probably 3 years now. And I'm running series 2. In my roof, I'm running 4 220 watt panels. Now, my aircon consumes less than 300 watts. Running on the solar. Now, with the new ones, voila, completely zero.
Question, Stewart. Do you offer services, maintenance services?
Yes, we can. What my thought was in the beginning, we will offer service plans where Nupon can come out and service and maintain units. So we'll have a technician working for us. Now, once we start selling multiple units, like 100 units, then that's when we actually start to do dealer agreements. Now, the dealer agreement is obviously the price is very favorable, but we're not offering service with that unless you request from Nupon a service contract with every aircon. Every 3 months we'll come out and service it for you, and that is added cost. But a lot of people who are buying 100, 200 plus units have their own person to service the aircon and clean it. In the hotels in Boracay, they do their own service.
Okay, thank you, Stewart. Jeff?
Press March, I think there's also a comment to the answer a while ago. I think the system is quite good because there's no battery. Using battery is actually one of the standing problems why we are not using solar aircon before. Also, using battery adds to the cost of the system.
Yes.
Yes. That's a comment, sir.
Exactly.
Now, if you're using battery, the two things is the problem with the battery. One is the lifespan of the battery. 2 is replacement cost of the battery.
Expensive.
And 3 is the maintenance of the battery. Now, why I chose in the Philippines never to use a battery system? 1, the initial upfront cost is prohibitive. 2, the running costs, you're always stealing power from the system. I have a friend who bought a battery system, solar aircon in Australia. And to be honest, I told him not to. So every time he talks about it, I say, no, you should have used a hybrid system. I've always run hybrid here and I've never had a problem. And now, if you can run the system 100% during the day, why would you need batteries? Unless you're in an island. And then have a genset or have a solar hybrid system which can run the system, no problems at all. Obviously, the aircon will consume much less power. So the system you need to buy is small.
Okay.
I got one
Govil,
question
you
here.
may, yes. Si Govil po, Govil, you may raise your question.
Yeah, good afternoon. This is just a comment regarding the battery energy storage system, no? Nowadays, in terms of the technology and the emerging distributed energy, of the future, it is now solar plus storage. And in fact, the battery system now, in terms of chemistry, on the lithium iron, iron phosphate, it is now one of the best, and it is the prices is going down, so everybody is going on that. I think what is being mentioned before is those old batteries, and the batteries now will be lasting for 10 to 12 years or 15 years, in terms of that. And that was started by Tesla, the lithium ion, but now it is now the lithium iron phosphate. So storage battery now is a big factor. In fact, in the United States, in California, everything in terms of solar going to that, going to solar energy, there is already an incorporation of storage. So it is now solar plus storage system, which is the emerging technology. Thank you.
Yes, yes. I understand LIP, lithium ion polymer batteries. I actually was one of the foremost person working with Victory Liner on the solar electric bus and Victory against climate change. Now, I understand the technology very well. The reason I didn't go for that in this occasion is the cost of running a battery system versus the aircon, the challenges you have. So that's why I stayed away. Can be done, but I still prefer to run a separate system to power the aircon and a separate system to run the aircon. Two different solar panel systems.
Yeah, Stewart, another question here. I think it's also from Govil. Question is, what are the components or the bill of materials of a 1.5 horsepower solar aircon when you deliver it and install?
Okay, the aircon comes with 10 feet of copper pipe, the wiring for the unit, remote control, 20 feet of solar wire to run to the roof. And that is in a standard box, that's what comes. Now, panels, you choose the panels you like. You can actually buy it. We can sell you just an aircon. We can sell you a complete system. So if you want to buy the panel somewhere else, okay, now. If you want to buy the system from us with the panels, with everything, okay as well. Now, the recommendation we use is we use tier 1 panels. We do not use the cheaper panels, obviously, because we do not want somebody to say, oh, that Nippon system is no good, and we go there to check the unit and they're running really cheap panels like Indian panels. So this is why we like to keep the quality. So if you want to buy the system 100% from us, no problems. And that's where we're going. But we really prefer tier 1 providers of solar panels, i.e. JA Solar, Trina, Jinko.
Including Longi.
Yes.
All right.
The inverter is included in the package of the solar aircon already. It is
Yes,
there.
the inverter is actually built into the ODU.
What inverter brand are you using?
We're using our own brand. We hand made this inverter.
It is also a tier one brand inverter in the world.
It's part of the aircon. It's actually we've incorporated into the main board.
Okay, so it's your own manufacturing name.
My own manufacturing team.
Okay, thank you very much, sir.
I think let's see, one last more question before we conclude our webinar. Okay, here we have one question, the final question. What is the area of a solar panel of 1.5 horsepower can consume on the roof?
It is 3 panels. Let me just find the size of it. I can look up the size. It's basically we're using the standard. I prefer the new half cell panels myself. Let me just have a look. Okay, so if you're looking at the panel, just having a look at the size.
Is it? I think that the size depends on the panel that you will use.
Yes, yes.
Right. Okay.
Yes, yes.
So it depends, no? If you will be using 380 watts, 400 watts, 534 watts. Okay.
Obviously,
so if I will be using now the biggest panel, like let us for example, the Trina 600 watts, is your inverter can handle that?
Yes, no problems.
Okay, thank you.
Do you require a certain ratio, meaning let's say 1.5 horsepower? I don't know what's the equivalent that in watts. So do you need a 1 point something equivalent horsepower?
So realistically, if you're looking at the panel, the minimum I would put in solar panels is 330 watts. That's the minimum panel.
Yeah, how about the maximum?
There really is no maximum. I can actually boost it to, I can put many panels, but the problem is if you put more than this in panels, it's realistically, it defeats the purpose because the cost bloats quite dramatically. If you're looking at JA solar panels are around 7,200 pesos each. If you look at it in the China market, obviously it's cheaper. But if you're looking in local market, obviously, if you're putting 12 panels versus 6 panels on a 3 horsepower aircon, obviously that power you're producing is lost because it's too much.
Yeah, again, that's why I'm asking something like a sweet spot, something like a 1.1 ratio or 1.2.
Yeah. In a 2 horsepower, in Nupon factory, we had a glut of 330 watt panels. So in the 330 watt panels, I used 5 to compensate for the lower voltage, the lower wattage panel. Realistically, on my own home, I have 5 440 watt panels. JA solar, the half cell panels. And to be honest, my unit runs zero cost most of the time. During the evening, I've got mine set to 25 degrees. And during the evening, I'm running 200 watts of consumption. And the room is very cold. Comparing it to most aircon systems, obviously, when you look at Shakey's and all these large places, they are looking for something because realistically, at the moment, COVID is hurting them. Like, okay, my house in Bulacan is the only house that can run, and I can stay home, I can turn the aircon on, and I don't even consider the cost of running that aircon. In the normal home, correct me if I'm wrong, whether you've been running your aircon for an hour, the wife's knocking on your door and saying,
So Stewart, you mentioned you're using 4 pieces of 450 watt peak module on your 2 horsepower.
440,
440.
440 watt JA solar panels.
Okay.
And that really I found was the perfect mix with a 2 horsepower aircon. Realistically,
it's something like 1:1, a little bit. I think 1 to 1.1 something ratio.
yes. When you look at it realistically, 10 years ago, I started solar aircon in China. 10 years ago, we worked on this system. Now, the first units we brought out was the aux unit. The challenge with the aux unit was spare parts and service. The second unit was full DC. Realistically, I found the quality of the unit was not to my liking, so I didn't bring it to market. Now this unit, which is Series 5, is completely perfect. I sat there in China and I went to many factories and perfected the aircon.
Okay, thank you very much, Stewart. So I think that's the last question. I cannot see.
Realistically, guys, if you're looking at solar aircons, the question you've got to ask is, who can do the industrial type aircons? It is the only one in the world who can do this unit at the moment is me. Why? I've been in this game for many years. I've seen the challenges. I've seen all the problems. I can send you photos of Globe, PLDT, all the large players playing with solar aircon with me. Morocco as well. Challenge has always been, can you do industrial? But now we can. And we are the only one in the world who can do industrial.
So I think that this installation is not covered by net metering requirement by Meralco, right?
No, you do not need net metering at all. And realistically, it is considered by Meralco an appliance.
Yeah, it's a
Same
load.
as you fit a normal aircon.
Yeah, okay, thank you very much, Stewart.